Everyone feels desire, it is a natural part of life, but what if I told you that this desire you sometimes try to hide or control could be one of the most important keys to understanding who you really are? C.G. Jung, one of the greatest names in psychology, believed that desire is not a problem, it is a signal. For him, this energy we feel is not just about sex, it is about creativity, connection, the will to live, to change, to become who you were born to be. The problem, according to Jung, is not feeling desire, it is repressing this desire without understanding what it wants to show you, because this energy can turn into anxiety, sadness, or even blockages in your life. Jung thought that sexual desire is just a part of a much greater energy. He called this energy libido, but not in the sexual sense that most people imagine. For Jung, libido is the force that drives us to seek something, whether it is to create a work of art, fall in love, pray, change your life, or even dream. It is what moves us from within. This energy can manifest as sexual desire, yes, but also as the will to learn, to change careers, to look for something more meaningful. Jung saw libido as a life impulse, something that pushes us forward, that pulls us out of emptiness, that calls us to truly live. Most importantly, Jung said we need to understand this energy and not simply ignore or repress it, because it does not disappear. When we pretend we don't feel it, it returns in another form, often as anxiety, dissatisfaction, or even physical and mental illness. So what to do with all this energy? Jung said the answer is not to repress it, nor to give in without thinking, the answer is to transform. He called this process sublimation. It is when we take this strong energy that often appears as sexual desire and direct it towards something greater, to create something beautiful, to dive into a purpose, to connect with spirituality, to serve the world with what is true within us. To sublimate is not to hide the desire, it is to give it a new path. It is like turning fire into light. Instead of burning yourself inside or trying to put out the flame, you light a candle, and with that light you see yourself more clearly. Have you ever seen artists who create deep music from pain or intense love, or people who after a great passion or crisis find a new meaning in life? That is sublimation happening. It is libido finding a more conscious and elevated path. Jung believed that we all have this potential. When we manage to channel desire with awareness, it stops being a problem, it becomes a force of life, of healing, of transformation. How many times have you had a strange, confusing dream and kept wondering what it meant? Jung believed that dreams are the way the unconscious, this deeper and more mysterious part of us, tries to communicate. And do you know what is one of the most frequent themes in these dreams? Sexuality, but not in the way most people think. For Jung, when something with sexual content appears in a dream, it is not always about sex. Often the unconscious is using this symbol to talk about something else. About your desire to feel whole, to integrate parts of yourself that are separated, to reconnect with something you lost. For example, dreaming of an intimate encounter may actually represent the desire to unite your rational part with your emotional part, or it may symbolize your feminine side wanting to express itself if you live in a very rigid or rational mode all the time. Jung said that desire, especially sexual desire, is one of the strongest ways the soul finds to get our attention, and in dreams, this energy appears as images, symbols, scenes that at first may seem confusing, but that carry valuable messages. The important thing is not to take everything literally, but to ask yourself, what is my unconscious trying to show me with this? Maybe your desire in that strange dream is saying, you need to return to yourself, there is something of yours that is forgotten and I came to remind you. Have you ever had the feeling that you are not yet living the way you truly want, as if there is something more genuine inside you waiting to be discovered? Jung called this process individuation. It is the path of becoming who you really are, inside and out. And do you know what is one of the forces that pushes us in that direction? Desire. Yes, that same libido, as Jung defined it, is the energy that moves us. And when channeled consciously, it transforms into the will to create, grow, change life, love with more presence, to heal. But this path is not simple. Many people try to ignore their desires, pretend they do not exist. Others let themselves be dominated by them without understanding what they are truly seeking. Jung said that balance lies in listening to this energy without fear and asking, what is this trying to show me about myself? Often, what seems like just an attraction or a restlessness is actually the soul trying to call you back to your truth. Desire, when well understood, can be a guide. It shows where life is pulsing, where there is still something to be lived. Deep down, desire does not want you to run from it, nor to give in to it unconsciously. It wants you to awaken, to realize that there is a part of you that has not yet been lived and that has power. A lot of power to take you there. When we try to hide what we feel, pretend certain desires do not exist, something starts to disconnect inside, and Jung knew this. He said the problem is not desire itself, but what we do with it. When the energy of libido is repressed, it does not disappear, it often turns into anxiety, irritation, sadness, or even illness. On the other hand, following every desire impulsively also does not solve it. The true balance, according to Jung, lies in integrating this energy, that is, looking at it with maturity, understanding what it wants to communicate, and finding a conscious way to live it. This integration is like learning to talk to yourself. It is realizing that each impulse has something to say, sometimes about a void, sometimes about a need for change, for expression, for truth. When you listen with respect and not with judgment, something begins to align inside you. Jung said that what you deny controls you, what you accept transforms you. So, the path is not to fight against desire, nor to surrender to it. It is to use this energy as a signal, a map, because libido is, deep down, a call for life, and when we learn to listen and channel this force, it stops being a burden and becomes light. The result, more emotional balance, more authenticity, and above all, more connection with who you really are. Desire is not a sin, not a weakness, and certainly not a mistake to be fixed. For Jung, desire is an essential part of our soul trying to express itself. It is an energy that when ignored makes us sick, but when understood can transform us completely. The great turning point happens when you stop fighting what you feel and start listening, when you understand that behind desire there is a request for change, for creation, for life. That is when you begin to heal, to understand yourself, to truly become who you are. The path to self-knowledge is not to deny what pulses in you, but to learn to walk with it, with awareness, with respect, with courage. So I leave you with a question: what if what you most avoid feeling is exactly what could set you free?